hammer. He'd heard a scuffle between a man wielding a hammer and his neighbor, and when Kaylin intervened, the attacker took off running. The local TV station even interviewed the man about his helpful efforts to keep the community safe from crime. After the phone call, the police called in Kaylin for an interview, which he went to with his parents and his lawyer. But Kaylin's behavior took a complete 180, as he was uncooperative and even refused to give his DNA. Well, it turns out that the police didn't have to struggle for it, because Kaylin's own parents would unknowingly help them out. See, Kaylin's parents had brought their son some water and snacks, and Kaylin even took a couple of swigs from the water bottle before discarding it. The police retrieved the water bottle and sent the DNA off of it for testing. About as simple as it gets. A couple of days later, they hit a jackpot. Kaylin's DNA matched the DNA found on Tess's body, putting Kaylin at the scene of the crime and holding him accountable for whatever happened to Tess. Kaylin was immediately arrested and held in a cell. And this is where things get very confusing for everyone. Kaylin was considered to be a gentleman in the community. So why was his DNA found on Tess's body? Well, looks can be deceiving, and something very dark lurked beneath Kaylin's happy and chirpy facade, which would soon be uncovered. Kaylin's cell was located beside that of two other criminals who were actually undercover cops. They were disguised in hopes of getting a confession out of Kaylin. And well, Kaylin wasted no time in revealing a lot of disturbing details about himself. Kaylin boasted about his charm and claimed to be a ladies' man who knew, quote, how to seduce women. He also went on to brag about being with over 40 women despite his relatively young age, which was extremely alarming if it's true. Kaylin's phone was also confiscated, and it revealed a lot of dark things. It turns out that Kaylin was interested in some incredibly violent sexual acts and watched loads of, well, explicit videos. This revelation was further solidified when Kaylin's ex-girlfriends were questioned. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of what they revealed to the police, but they confirmed that he had some very unique interests, some of which were violent. If that wasn't eerie enough, a closer look at the bar's CCTV footage showed Kaylin present at the bar at the time Tess and Riley were asked to leave, meaning that he may not have met the girls at the hot dog stand, as detectives originally believed. He may have been stalking them. The footage showed Tess and Kaylin a mere shoulder's width away from each other, which is so creepy to think about in hindsight. Even though Tess and Kaylin didn't interact inside the bar or even know each other beforehand, one thing was clear. Kaylin had his sights on Tess at that point. Kaylin also confessed to the undercover cop that Tess was alive when he left her at the staircase, but he soon changed his story and said that he was inebriated and didn't remember what had happened that night. With all of this information, on March 21st, 2018, the investigators upgraded the charges on Kaylin from second degree to first degree. Finally, almost 2 years after Kaylin was arrested, his trial was scheduled for January 12th of 2020. Kaylin's attorneys argued that Tess's attacker was someone else, even naming this person in court, and they stressed that Kaylin had nothing to do with Tess's passing. But the prosecution was 2 steps ahead of the defense. They'd already questioned the suspect in question, and he was cleared of any suspicion. Kaylin also took the stand in court and explained the reason why his DNA was on Tess's body. Kaylin claimed that he and Tess bonded over their mutual breakups after meeting on the street outside the bar, and Tess was highly engrossed in the conversation, so much so that she even ignored a phone call during that time. But the prosecution slammed this story shut very quickly, because Tess's phone records showed no incoming calls on the night of her tragic attack and passing. So Kaylin was essentially lying, but he wasn't done. Kaylin proceeded to claim that Tess had initiated the flirtatious advances, and the two had kissed for a bit before Kaylin, well, got excited, and he claims that this is how his DNA got onto Tess's body. But there was no evidence to support this claim. During his confession, Kaylin claimed that he invited Tess to his house, but she refused, saying that they couldn't go any further, and asked Kaylin to leave, which he did. He repeated the fact that Tess was alive by the time he left, but the prosecution didn't believe Kaylin's web of lies because if Tess were alive at that time, then she should have gotten into the Uber, which was canceled by the driver because Tess failed to show up. It was suspected that Kaylin had somehow convinced Tess to go into the dark